You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Taste the Mediterranean through March 19th at Whole Foods Market. Save on animal welfare certified bone and beef short ribs, sustainable wild-caught sockeye salmon, and more. Find sales on Parmigiano Reggiano, charcuterie and ground lamb. Grab an olive boule bread from the bakery. Plus, wines from the Mediterranean start at just $8.99. Taste the Mediterranean now at Whole Foods Market. Must be 21 plus. Please drink responsibly.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hi everybody and welcome to Who Did What Now, the history podcast that's not your history class, with me your host, Katie Charlwood, history harlot and reader of books. If you are new here, if you have stumbled this way via Instagram or TikTok, hello, I tend to tell history and information in a way that I try to be conversational, so it's generally just how I talk. Now, my language has been referred to as colourful on occasion, downright blasphemous on others. But if you have an issue with, cuss words, swear words, anything like that, you're going to want to exit stage left. Okay, cool. Now that the rest of you are here, and obviously people who have been listening for a long time, hi Tara, Welcome. I am back. I have a voice again, kind of. I lost it a little from talking so much. So if this sound is a bit funny, I am recording from a hotel room in Dublin. I'm staying in the Morrison Curio by Hilton. And I got in and I was just planning to drop my bag in. But I got, how to put this? They were just like, oh yeah, you can just check in now. There's an early check-in fee, but we're gonna upgrade you to a better room. And I was like, cool, yeah, no worries. That's wonderful. I was just gonna drop in my luggage, but they just let me in. Now, why am I in Dublin, you ask? Well, I was flying down because I live 20 minutes from Donegal Airport, and the price of the flight was actually, I think, cheaper than the price of a bus. So why travel uncomfortably for 5 hours when I can do it for one? So I flew down, dropped in my bag, and then went to be a guest on the Shite Talk History podcast, which I think is out this week, maybe next week, but I'm on that, talking about George Thomas, or interjecting about George Thomas, the man from Tipperary who became a Raja. Why do I roll my R's like that? I don't know. So yeah, why am I in Dublin? Tonight is the Irish Podcast Awards. So I was in for the listener's choice. So I got to the top 10, but I didn't make the top 5. But that's fine, It was all right. I still beat the two Johnnies, so they didn't make the top 10. Yeah, one of those things. But yeah, and it was my birthday Monday, yesterday. So that was fun. I got to eat a Cuthbert. No, that's a lie. It was a Kira the Caterpillar cake. And my aunt's like, it doesn't have any legs on it because, the Colin the Caterpillar cake has legs. And I'm like, that's good. It doesn't have legs. It means it won't run away when I'm trying to eat it. So yeah, being the birthday girl, I got the option of eating the face, which, if you don't know, is a delicacy. So yeah, they put sparklers in the top of the cake, like little antennae, and I'm braced against the wall because there's just flames and fire everywhere, and I'm like, let's not singe my eyebrows. I've got the awards tomorrow. Let's not. So yeah, flew down, dropped in the case, did the podcast. Now back in the hotel, and I have several hours before the awards, which is just downstairs and to the right a wee bit. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun night. I know a few of the podcasts that are gonna be there. I know like the Paranormal Life Boys, Kit and Rory, and I know Emma from Real Life Ghost Stories, who is fabulous, and I'm gonna try and bully into a collab at some point. But yeah, that's been today. It's been wild, and I've got the most ridiculous red dress to wear, and I'm very excited about it. And I've got a bit of a problem though, because I noticed it's not as tight as it was because I lost weight from being sick. So it doesn't quite fit the same way. But hopefully it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And my friend Cormac is coming. You may know him as Paddy Shelby on TikTok or Cormac on Instagram. He does a lot of Irish history. And he's going to be guesting on one of my episodes. I'm going to say early next year, just by the time we actually manage to sync up our watches, just to get that going. But yeah, my voice is kind of going, I think, just from all the talking. But yeah, it's been a good time. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, quit your jibber jabber and fact me. In fact you I will. But first, we've got to get our source on. Our sources are Jailbreak, De Valera's Daring Prison Escape by David McCullough, Eamon De Valera's Escape from Lincoln Prison by Joel Murray, Prisoners of Conscience by Eric Gregg, Big Fellow, Long Fellow, a jaunt biography of Irish politicians Michael Collins and Eamon De Valera by T. Ryle Dwyer, Peter's Key, Peter de Lochary and the Fight for Irish Independence by Declan Dunn, How a Fruitcake Helped Eamon De Valera Escape Prison by Oliver Wright. We also have Historic Kilkenny, the National Museum of Ireland, and of course our old favourites, biography.com and history.com. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then let's begin. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this story specifically is because I love jailbreaks. I think they're interesting, especially old-timey jailbreaks. And this one is so objectively tropey and funny that if I was ever to write a jailbreak in a book, I would just fucking plagiarise it from history. Just steal it straight out the page. Maybe ad-lib some like comedy moments in there, but that is definitely what I would do. It's too good. Now, De Valera, by all accounts, bit of a bastard, but he does become the Taoiseach, which is the leader of Ireland. So some countries would have a president or a prime minister. This is Taoiseach. That's what he is. Or Taoiseach, I should say. Some people pronounce it Taoiseach, but I don't do that because that's not how my dialect pronounces it, because I'm from Donegal. Also, in addition, furthermore, words sound weird coming out this mouth. Like, I know I have an accent, and some phrases will sound differently just because I'm saying them. Like, I say some English words wrong. So the way that I pronounce things is just from my accent. Like I was telling somebody the name of my podcast the other day, and I'm like, who did what now? And they're going, who did? As in somebody died. And I was like, no, who did? As in somebody did something. It's but my accent pronounces my I's like E's to other people. And that's just something I have to like knowingly correct a lot of the time, because I can't do it without changing my accent, and I'm not going to do that because my accent is part of my identity, and it's a lovely accent, so if you don't like it, you can fuck off. So, De Valera, bit of a bastard, fucked up a bunch of stuff, and let a bunch of religious people get away with a bunch of dodgy shit, which we will talk about another time, but not today, because I want to talk about De Valera's jailbreak. So, he ends up in prison in 1918, which is not the first time he has ended up in prison by the British government. Now, at this time, Ireland was still under British rule, but they were advocating for home rule. They wanted to rule themselves because they didn't want to be oppressed by a colonial force who, instigated a genocide by creating a famine, and not the only country they did it to at all. But anyway, one day I'm going to talk about the famine, and that's going to be a day of no jokes because it's just so fucking depressing, and I am full of so much rage about it. So, again, not his second prison sentence, because he was in prison in 1916 because he was part of the 1916 Rising. And unlike 15 other comrades, he didn't get executed. And people say it's because he was American, because he was born in America, and because he has the surname De Valera, so it's kind of an interesting name. And people think it's because of that he was spared. But here's the thing. He was spared because he was really fucking lucky. Because he was in the McVitie's factory, the biscuits. He was there, so he was sort of one of the last people to be dealt with, to be caught. And when they first looked at his name, they were like, is he somebody important? Because, De Valera sounds important. And the response was, no, he's just a school teacher or a school principal from, wherever. Yeah, so they were like, he's not that important, he's just a teacher, And when the other rebels from the Easter Rising were executed, which I will go into great detail one day, public opinion turned because one of the people that they executed, they brought out in a wheelchair. And I've talked about this on TikTok many, many years ago, and I was shaking doing it because I was so worried about the backlash, because I get a lot of stuff where people go, you're an Anglo, just because, mainly the accent. But it's one of those things I think needs to be talked about more. But yeah, after these executions, the whole public had just sort of turned against it. A lot of people in Ireland were just kind of dealing with it. This is just how it is, But when they started killing all these people for fighting for independence, people started getting really fucking mad. And because of this, and because of Dev being one of the last people to be caught, effectively, he ended up just getting a prison sentence just to kind of appease people, and then he got off. His half-brother and stuff, tried to petition on his behalf, and Dev was like, nah, it's fine, mate, don't worry about it. But again, just lucky. He was just really fucking lucky that everything happened the way it did, so that he did not get shot, effectively, because it was a firing squad. But yeah, 2 years later, 1918, Dev is back in prison under trumped-up charges of conspiring with the Germans during the Great War. It was the Great War at this time because it was not yet known as World War I, because they weren't expecting a fucking second one. But there we go. Ireland is fighting for home rule, and a bunch of prominent figures, in order to try and quash this continued rebellion, because Britain didn't want Ireland having independence. They didn't want to rule itself. They wanted to still have access to the land and the resources and the funds and the power. But Ireland, yeah, not too keen on that now. Kind of wanted its freedom. Yeah. And so basically the leaders get these trumped up charges of conspiring with the Germans, which is wibbly wobbly a wee bit. So they did buy guns. They were trying to buy weapons from Germany, not to aid Germany in war, but to free themselves. It was not the same thing. And really, I don't think Britain has a leg to stand on when it's, where it sends its arms and sells that to it, and it doesn't think that's an issue. All of the places it sold weapons and arms to that then ended up fighting them specifically. It's almost as if this is the pot calling the kettle black. I'm just saying. But yeah, a bunch of them just end up imprisoned, which just because they could. They really wanted to discredit De Valera's party and, of course, at the time, the Irish Republican Army, which was just the army at the time. It was the military arm of the Irish Rebellion. That's just what it was. It wasn't, a terrorist group at the time. It had not yet evolved into that. So in May 1918, De Valera and 72 other leading Irish nationalists, right? 73, so that's 73 people they've arrested, basically on allegations of conspiring with Germany, right? Some of them were carted off to Monmouthshire, and others, including Dev here, and others like Dev here, ended in Lincoln prison. So they're in prison in Britain. That's where they are, just far away. Well, not that far away. They're just across the sea. So they're there. But because a lot of them hadn't actually been sentenced, they were just rounded up and jailed, I was pretty relaxed for a lot of them in Lincoln prison. So yeah, they are arrested in May 1918. And there he stayed. Even after, the war was over, Germany had surrendered, so the very people he was supposed to be conspiring with had been dealt with, and yet there he stayed, in prison, on, trumped up charges. But, he kind of had a pretty sweet deal in prison, because, he had, a typewriter and a gramophone. He had comforts, comforts of the era. And comforts are all well and good and all, but sometimes you don't want a gramophone, you just want your fucking freedom. And maybe to be a petty little bitch and rub it in the face of, the very people who imprisoned you, maybe that, maybe. So while Dev is in the clink, two major things happen. In 1918, on November 11th, the Great War ends. It is over. And 1 month later, there's a general election. So it's in the UK and it's in Ireland. So Sinn Féin, the political party, it just fucking sweeps the boards because the Irish people go out and they're pissed at this point. And they just vote en masse. And I think Sinn Féin gets 73 out of 105 Irish seats. So they're just knocking it out. And this is the party that's advocating for home rule. And Dev misses it. He's not directly involved, but he does, he does hear about it. They do have newspapers and things. He gets the info. And, even though things are pretty chill in prison, he doesn't want to stay there. He wants to go out and he's smart. He might be a bastard, but he is smart. And what he wants to do is, just humiliate Britain. That's kind of the plan. So he's thinking, of escaping prison, as one does. I feel like most inmates are, at least considering getting the heck out of Dodge. You know what I mean? So he's in prison in England and wants to get out, one, because he wants his freedom-ish, and two, because it's pretty much a coup on his part. Because can you imagine the embarrassment of one of the leaders of, the 1916 risings, one of the main rebels, escaping your prison? It's clever, but yeah. But also embarrassing for Britain. And so a plan is hatched in December 1918. So one day Dev is out in the exercise yard, exercising, one would assume, and he spots a door. The door on the exercise yard leads to freedom. And this is where his brain starts ticking. Because that door, that slice of wood, or, pieces of wood put together are, the one barrier. I say one of a few, but the main barrier between him and getting out. But in Lincoln prison, Dev didn't just hang about the exercise yard. Oh no, he was an altar boy. So you could volunteer to be an altar boy in the prison. I don't know, maybe you got good behaviour stuff. Maybe it was just so you had something to do. Or maybe you're just very religious. Whom's to say? But Dev, being a good Catholic Irish fella, volunteers to be an altar boy. He also notices, as an altar boy, that the priest in the prison priest, he is not exactly great with his keys. He's got a habit of just leaving them down, misplacing them. I feel like, though, if you're in any sort of position of power in a prison and you have a set of keys, I feel like in general, you should, have a better grip on them in more ways than one. Like, you should try to keep them on you. It just feels a little, irresponsible. But I don't know, part of me's thinking, what if the priest, just kept deliberately leaving his keys around? Maybe he was just forgetful. Maybe the priest had ADHD. We don't know. Maybe he just left things places. It could be anything. But yeah, the priest has a habit of leaving his keys around. And because Dev is an altar boy, he has access to those keys. And this is the sneaky, hasty escape plan. Stuff happens. This is glorious. So he takes a church candle. De Valera finds an old wax candle, and it's nice and soft, it's malleable, and when the priest isn't looking, he makes an impression of the key in the wax, and then takes the candle stump with him. I don't know if you're used to sort of Catholic churches, but there are a lot of candles. Something to do with the light of God or the light of Jesus or the Holy Spirit or one of the holy things. I know we light candles on behalf of people. I don't know what the candle itself is supposed to represent or why we're burning things to represent care. Because I feel like burning things is sort of the opposite. It kind of feels a wee bit pagan, doesn't it? No, not going to get into that today. But it does, though. A wee bit. Yeah. So, lots of candles in churches. So a couple going missing, especially the stumps. Nobody's really going to notice, especially this priest, because clearly he is forgetful as fuck. So Dev, he brings this waxy stump, this wee impression of the key, and he needs somebody to make a copy of it, because they have to try and get this impression out to someone so that, they can get out the fucking door. And of course, they couldn't just write it in a letter and be like, hey, can you copy this key? Because although the prison itself was pretty relaxed for them, the guards were reading their mail. They were going to their letters just to make sure there wasn't any sort of, mischief afoot. But lucky for them, fellow prisoner Sean Milroy was a cartoonist. And using his artistic skills, they come up with a fantastic idea of drawing the key or the dimensions of the key on a postcard. But what they do, because it's before Christmas, is they make it a Christmas card. And yeah, so they draw this Christmas card. And there's a big picture and then a little picture inside it. So the big picture is a drunk man holding a key, trying to get into his house. And it says Xmas 1917, can't get in. And then there's a little picture of a man in a prison cell going 1918, can't get out. So it's very hinty. They're like, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know what I mean? And luckily for them, the guards are not sort of thrown off by this. They think this is a perfectly reasonable Irish humour postcard for Christmas. Clearly, this is definitely something they do. And I just not there's a giant fucking key on the front of it. Not be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. That's fine, I guess. So the Christmas card is sent and it reaches Dublin. So their allies are looking at this and they decipher what it means and they realise that they want a key cut. And so that's exactly what they do. So they get a key cut. It gets baked into a fruitcake. That's right. An actual trope. They put it in a cake. And people are like, why a fruitcake? Not why a sponge cake? It's 1918. We're still coming off of sugar rations, right? And it's Christmas time. So a fruitcake is a traditional Christmas cake. You wouldn't be surprised to be seeing it, around this time of year. And we have a weird sort of assumption that fruitcakes aren't nice, but it's because a lot of the cakes we have now are so full of extra sugars and sweeteners and everything else. And this would have been one of the, sweeter options for cakes back in the day. It's also full of booze, which is quite nice for some people. Now, carrot cake also was one of those sort of sweeter vegetables, and so that's an option for cakes. But yeah, this fruit cake, may have a wee bit of carrot in it. I don't know the exact recipe, but I'm going to find a 1918 recipe for fruitcake and I'll bake it for next Christmas and I'll put a key in it. Don't know what kind of key. I will find one and figure it out. But yeah, a fella named Fintan Murphy takes the cake to prison. And so he goes there, he tells them he's a commercial traveller. Not the best of, I'm a commercial traveller. Don't be surprised by the accent and the fact that my name is Fintan, But yeah, he goes in and the warden's there. And he gets the cake. And he starts poking it with a knife. It's like this really fine, thin knife. And he's just poking this cake. And for Fintan, terror is gripping his very soul. Because he's like, shit, what if they hit the key? And he is standing there quietly panicking inside his head and his heart. But luckily, the knife never comes in contact with the key. And no one noticed just how much Fintan Murphy was sweating.
Being a part of a royal family might seem enticing, but more often than not, it comes at the expense of everything else, like your freedom, your privacy, and sometimes even your head. Wondery's new podcast, Even the Royals, pulls back the curtain on royal families, past and present, from all over the world, to show you the darker side of what it means to be royalty. From icons like Grace Kelly, Oscar-winning actress turned Princess of Monaco, who the world saw as the ultimate good girl. She mastered playing a happy wife and mother, but beneath it all, she was desperately lonely. Grace spent her whole life working towards perfection, and it ultimately cost her her happiness. Or King Ludwig II from Bavaria. He was only 18 when his father died, leaving the crown to him and a duty to rule that he never wanted. He refused to lead, and used the funds from the royal treasury to further his extreme love of opera. But this choice eventually cost him the crown and his life. Follow Even the Royals on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge Even the Royals ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
The regular season is heating up. New stars are emerging, and that means more opportunities to win up to 25 times your cash on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection on a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's that easy. Let it fly to turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Watch your favorite players and get paid doing it this basketball season. See your entries make progress during the game or make new entries for the second half and the fourth quarter. 3-pointers, assists, rebounds, and everything in between are yours for the taking. Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
So the key goes in. The key goes in. No, that's wrong. The cake goes in. They get the cake and they're like, yay, thanks for the lovely cake. And luckily enough, none of the guards wanted some of the incredibly delicious fruitcake. So they get the key and they plan their escape and they get the key in the lock. But the key is too small. It's too small. And Sean Milroy, he's like, I made it the exact dimensions of that wax impression. I did it exact. I did my bit, I don't know why it's so small. But then they realise that between making the impression and bringing sort of the wax stump in, it had contracted. So because it expanded with the heat, but as it cooled, it contracted and it just didn't fit. So it shrunk. So he was drawing a smaller key. So they basically do something similar. They basically try it again. So they make the wax impression and they try and get the sketch done quicker the second time. But obviously they can't draw another Christmas card, So they just draw another pattern. So it's effectively this ornate Celtic design with the key sort of hidden in it. Like Where's Wally, but with a key. So it's sort of hidden in the design. Or, you know, like one of those tattoo cover-ups you do. So it's sort of in it, because they're like, oh, look, we're Irish. It's a thing. And so it gets sent out, and another key comes in a fruitcake, which again, stabby, stab, stab, doesn't get discovered. Thank goodness. So the cake comes in, and of course they eat more fruitcake, because they're delicious. And I don't even eat fruitcake, because I don't eat cooked fruit. So like I'm like trying to promote fruitcake and bar and brack and other delicious things that I don't eat, because cooked fruit makes me go, ugh. I have food sensitivity issues because of ADHD, which is like really sweet, because I got offered blueberry muffins by the Shite Talk History podcast yesterday, because Kevin's girlfriend, loves baking, and she'd made these blueberry muffins, but I was like, I'm really sorry, I don't eat cooked fruit. And he's like, I have cookies, and I think they're Whippies, I think they're called. Like they're these chocolate sort of domey cookies, and they were with powder. They were delicious. They were absolutely delicious. I was like, Kevin was making me a coffee as well, and he's like holding these 2 bags of sugar, because I asked for sugar, and one of them is like granulated sugar and caster sugar, and he's pausing, and I can tell that this is a look of a man who does not know the appropriate sugar. And I'm like, caster sugar is more refined, it's for baking, and then the granulated sugar is for the coffee. And he was like, oh, okay. I'm like, it's fine. Because I got coffee and cookies, so like I can't complain. It was very lovely. And but yeah, I'm here promoting food I don't eat just because I can't eat it. But my kids like it, so it's going to be a wee bit good. I'm a mum, so you know what? Bring back fruitcake. Fuck it, we should. So yeah, they try it again. They go through the whole palaver, and they try the key in the lock. But yet again, the key is too small. They've fucked it up again. And now they're like, okay, we need a new plan. Because as we know, there are 4 rules to making a plan. Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan. And that is exactly what happened here. So clearly, these guys fucking love fruitcake, and the prison guards are like, clearly nothing's going on with this fruitcake, because they're having a lot of it and no shit has started, right? No issues, everybody's fine, everybody's chilling. But that's about to change. So end of January, beginning of February, roughly about this time, the fellas receive another cake, another fruitcake, which is described as oblong. Peculiar and oblong. That is the 2 main sort of descriptors for this cake that I have seen everywhere. Peculiar and oblong. Now, I've probably seen an oblong cake, but I have rarely heard a cake described specifically as oblong. So this oblong cake comes in, and they don't check it. Why? Because it's a fucking fruitcake, and these boys are just mad for it, apparently. And they check it, and nobody thinks it's a bit heavy. See, the thing about fruitcakes is they're pretty dense. It's a dense cake, they're kind of heavy. You would not want to be smacked with one. I'm not speaking from experience. And these cakes, again, pretty dense, pretty heavy. So if there's a blank key and a bunch of fucking files in them, files in a cake. Now remember when I talked about tropes? I was talking about all the tropes of things. Files in a cake. So they've got a blank key, or some blank keys, and this, just files. And there's this other prisoner, Peter de Valera, who I think is from Kilkenny originally. And so he had somehow been allowed to examine a prison lock. I say allowed, he somehow managed to examine a prison lock because he took it apart with a screwdriver that he somehow acquired. We don't question it, we just accept. And so he gets this key. He's a wee locksmith, by the way, also. Who are we going to lock up in the prison? A fucking locksmith? Oh, that's not going to be an issue for any of us, is it? Not a cause for concern. Apparently not. So he's there and he makes this skeleton key. So he fashions a skeleton key effectively to open any door in the prison. And he's the reason, really. Like, without his skill, the rest wouldn't have happened. And now, 3rd of February, shit goes down. At about 20 to 8, so 7:40 p.m, on the 3rd of February 1919, Eamon De Valera, Sean Milroy, and Sean McGarry take De Lochry's key and they open their cell doors. Now, they're not fools, so they do lock them behind them. And so they sneak through the prison under the cover of night until they get to the exercise yard. So clearly these fellas have been writing to each other in code, because fellow Republicans, high-ranking Republicans, are waiting for them on the other side of that door in the exercise yard. So Harry Boland and Michael Collins are on the other side of that door. The 3 prisoners had made it this far. There was one door between them and freedom. And so they get to the door and they put De Lochry's master key in it and they turn it in the lock and it fucking snaps. All of this work, all of this time, winter in Lincoln, and they are just stuck. Luckily for them, though, Michael Collins also had a key cut. He had the wherewithal to do that. And so he slots his key into the lock, knocking the broken key out of the door. Because, old-timey doors, you could have done that. Turns the key, and the 3 men are free. And this is my favourite part of the story. So they've gone through this. They have tried to get a key made. Key was too small. They smuggled stuff in a cake. They drew another picture, sent it out again. The fucking cake comes back. Key's too small again. And so they send a blank key and some files. And they do it again. And it finally fucking works, right? And they're about to get out the door. Key breaks. Luckily, there's another key because the other fellow was smart enough to have one. Unlocks it, gets them out. And then puts De Valera in a big fur coat. Because it's winter. It wouldn't be surprising to see a woman in a fur coat. And so they totter away. They go past some drunk sort of soldiers with their gals. And so they're kind of walking, trying to make it seem like they're just a gang, a couple, just having fun on a night out. And so off they go. But, they're still in fucking England, so that's a bit of an issue when you don't want a manhunt, because you're a political prisoner who is embarrassing the country by escaping. And so they totter around and they get to the Adam and Eve pub, and there was a taxi waiting for them. So they jump in the taxi and it gets them up to works up in Nottinghamshire. And so by the time Lincoln Prison realises they've escaped, 2 hours later, about 9:30, 9:30 p.m, the fellas have gone in another taxi from Walks up to Sheffield. So basically they've just gone boop, 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 jumping in one taxi to the other to kind of evade sort of any specific trail. Because there's a car waiting for them in Sheffield to take them to a safe house in Manchester. But yeah, the 3 prisoners have escaped, so a manhunt begins. And the reason that they actually noticed they were gone is because as they were just sort of rushing to leave, they didn't lock the door. So they had locked their cells, but they didn't lock, the door in the exercise yard. So if they'd done that, they would have had a bit more time before having to get to the safe house. Sorry, but this is like the most ballsy thing ever, because you've got 3 massive leaders of the rebellion. You've got Michael Collins, you've got Eamon De Valera, and you've got Harry Boland. So if the 3 of them are caught, like, it's a shit hits the fan situation for Ireland. Like, these are the 3 main players. It's big bollocks if they get stuck. But of course they said, fuck this for a game of soldiers. They're getting out of there. And after this, he manages to get on a boat. But after the safe house anyway, they manage to get on a boat. And Dev goes across the Irish Sea. So Sinn Féin, they have swept the boards. They are winning at politics, one could say. And so they're supposed to go to Westminster to take their seats in Parliament. But they refuse to go. So instead of heading to the UK, they decide they're going to set up their own government in Ireland, which is in Dáil Éireann. And I think in April of that year, that Dev shows up, unless I'm mixing up some facts. Anyway, they set up their own government, and that is, well, that's really that last push for home rule. But yeah, that is the story of De Valera's jailbreak. And it's just one of those things, it's one of those pieces of history which I just found just so much fun. It really is. And if you liked my retelling of this tale from a hotel room in Dublin, as I get ready to go to an award show, please feel to rate and review 5 stars. I would greatly appreciate it. And I very much love it. Stuff is going on the Patreon. God, soon, because I've got the first Who Done It What Now recorded. I just have to put it up. But I want to get like a couple of chapters done before I start putting it up in case, I miss something. And I'm going to have things scheduled for when I'm in Disneyland with the kids, because the last payment was made and we're going to Disney. I'm very excited. So if you liked it, rate and review 5 stars. Don't forget you can follow me on the socials. I'm on Instagram, Frankenstein. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter. Apparently, I don't know. I feel like I should just like shout into the void at that point. That's just me screaming into the abyss on Twitter. And then of course I'm on Facebook. I'm trying to get better at posting on Facebook, but I'm just the absolute worst. This is why I need a team. I need an actual team, because it's just me, and I, as you can tell, I'm struggling. But at least I can talk again, which is, as someone who podcasts, very handy and greatly appreciated. And so it is recommendation time. I'm excited for this. So I'm going to recommend a fiction book. Can you believe it? For reading a fiction book. Me, actually reading fiction. I had some time. I had some opportunities. And so I read Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. And it is so good. It is absolutely so good. You should definitely read it. And for listening, I am going to suggest and recommend the lovely Real Life Ghost Stories podcast with Emma, who's fucking fabulous, and I can't wait to see you tonight because I know she's going to be here. So we need to go listen to that. If you like anything sort of spooky, stuff like that, she's just fab. So go listen to that. And for watching, you know what? Go see The Marvels. It's fun. I think I may have recommended that last week, but go see The Marvels. It is fun. Everybody should go see it. I don't care. It doesn't have this. Oh, not every superhero movie needs layers of trauma. Sometimes you can just go see a comic book movie. Like, up until recently, no offense, up until recent years, like, the highest selling comic books were, like, Archie. Because, like, the romance comics were, like, the big sellers. And not every comic has fucking superheroes, but that's not the point. The point is, it's great. You should go watch it. It's fun. Is it the best movie I've ever seen in my life? No, it doesn't fucking have to be. Get over it. Anyway. With that, I shall bid you farewell. And I already have a really good plan for next week's episode. I'm really excited. But I shall bid you farewell. My absolute wonderful listeners. You're just amazing. You really are. And I want to just really, before I go, say how much I appreciate all of you who have stayed with me, even with me not being great the last few weeks. My scan got delayed, so now I'm looking for another time for my scan. I'm trying to get it done sooner, but hopefully that'll be fine. Anyway, point being, you all are amazing. I appreciate you, and I shall see you next time. Adios, au revoir, au revoir, my friends. Bye-bye.